Hi, I'm Larry Richardson, your step-by-step chef. In this episode, we're going to make a delicious entree. It's tilapia, or any whitefish you can get your hands on. It'll also work with a cod, a haddock, a flounder, you name it. So anyways, but we're making tilapia with mushroom, lemon, and shallot sauce. It's absolutely delicious. We'll be throwing in some oregano into that mix and a few other ingredients. I think you're really going to like this. So come on, let's cook. So here are the ingredients we're going to use with our tilapia with mushrooms, lemons, and shallot sauce. This is absolutely a delicious meal. So first we have 1.5 pounds of tilapia. If you get that frozen, make sure that you have it fully defrosted before we start cooking. We have what's going to be 2 cups of mushrooms sliced. We have a 1/2 cup of chicken broth that we're going to use. We have 2 lemons. We have what will turn into about 2 tablespoons of minced fresh oregano. And if you can't get that, use 1 teaspoon of dried oregano. These dried spices tend to be very, very strong, so you don't want to go overboard on this. So if you can't get the fresh oregano, just use about a teaspoon, maybe a little bit under, of the dried oregano. Then we're going to use 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. I have 5 tablespoons of butter split, 3 tablespoons in a little bowl that we're going to brown the fish in, and then 2 tablespoons that we're going to use in our sauce. I'm also going to use 1 teaspoon of granulated sugar, a teaspoon of salt. There I have 2 shallots that we're going to finely slice. And if you can't get shallots, that's fine. This dish will actually come out just fine without the shallots, but they certainly add a nice note to it. And then hiding under there, I have 4 garlic cloves that we're going to crush. So those are all the ingredients. Let me show you how to put it together. So the first thing we're going to do is slice up our mushrooms. And I'm not sure whether I mentioned it before, but these are baby Bella mushrooms. You can use white mushrooms too, that's just fine. And I'm just cutting them this thin. So they're a little substantial, they're about 1/4 inch thick. And we're just going to go through and do this. And they will cook down nicely. Now if they're kind of stemmy, cut that off. And make sure to rinse these off too. I know you can see some of the sand accumulating at the bottom. Or some of the dirt. It's really dirt. It's a fine dirt. But these have been rinsed off. So just give them a nice rinsing. Cut a little bit of that stem off if it looks tough. And then just keep doing this. And I don't want to bore you, so I'm not going to show you me slicing 2 cups worth of these mushrooms. But you get the point. So there we go, and I'll be right back. And next up, let's thin slice the shallots. And they're very similar to onions, but they hold together better, and they're just not quite as, not quite as, I don't know, I guess you'd say oniony smelling as onions. But I like the way they hold together, and they add a nice flavor to this dish. If you can't get shallots in your area, that's fine. And, you can substitute a more substantive onion, like maybe a red onion, and just really fine slice it. But ideally, if you can get the shallots, get them. You can also just leave it out altogether. That's totally up to you. And after you try the dish, then you can decide what works best for you. So all I'm doing with this is really like razor thin slicing it. You don't want huge pieces of shallot in this dish. So those discs are fine. And you just come through. You just cut it like that into these nice little discs. That is delicious. It's just like I said, it's just a little bit different than onion. And it definitely has more of a toughness to it. And I don't mean toughness like you're going to be chewing on shallots, but they can stand up to sauteing quite well. And they don't really turn sweet like onions do. So again, I'm not going to bore you, but I am going to slice both of these shallots that thin. So I'll be right back. Okay, so our shallots are all chopped up. They're in with the mushrooms. And these are the items that we're going to saute together. And some of the other ingredients we're going to put in another bowl because they're going to be poured in later in the process after the fish is browned and this is sauteed. And what I'm doing is I'm taking our fresh oregano and just taking it off the stem. And this is really fresh and delicious oregano. I grow my own herbs because I just love the taste of fresh over dried whenever possible. And in most locations in the United States, you can grow herbs indoors pretty much year-round if you can find them, or if you want to start them from seed. It's just worth it. I just think the flavor is worth it. But if you can't find fresh oregano, then you can certainly add that dried oregano we talked about earlier. And it will taste just fine. It's just a slightly different taste. And, you know, the other point to be made is just that the oregano, to me, tastes really good in this dish. Some people would make this with thyme. I don't really like thyme. So, you know, even in chicken piccata, it's one of the reasons why I don't like that dish is for some reason, thyme is one of those herbs that just rubs me the wrong way. Some people love it. I absolutely don't. So I'm really using oregano. If you want to use thyme, use it. But just use it to your taste. And I can't tell you how much to add because, again, I just don't like it. So if you can get your hands on fresh thyme, use that. Again, the dried thyme is just fine. I love oregano. And I didn't add any basil to this dish because I thought it would sweeten it up too much. And rosemary would probably give it a twist I'm not looking for. I'm looking for something with a little bit more of a outdoorsy, gamey taste to it. And these ingredients just really work well in this dish. So now I'm just going to take the oregano and give it a little bit of a slice. Oops, one of the stems got through. There we go. Just give it a little bit of a mincing. And if you want to use your food processor, you can, but there's really not much here. And this helps to release some of the aromatics out of the oregano. I can smell it. It's just delicious. But I wouldn't overdo oregano in this dish because oregano tends to be a very strong herb to begin with, and I don't want it to absolutely dominate the taste of the mushrooms, the shallots, and the lemon. So just put this right in here. Again, these are the ingredients that we're going to saute together. Okay, so that's looking good. I'll be right back. And the next thing I'm going to do is combine the garlic with the remaining ingredients in this little bowl. And just crush the garlic if you have one of these crushers. If you don't have a crusher, then mincing is just fine. Just really finely mince it though. You want to get the essential oils, the flavor out of this garlic. And the best way to do it, I think, is a crusher. But mincing and maybe giving it a little smack on the top will help to get the oils out of it. And if you don't like garlic, don't add garlic. I happen to love garlic. It's getting a little slippery on me. There we go. Love my garlic. And then next we'll just add our salt to it. A teaspoon of salt. And then let's squeeze our 2 lemons into it. And these citrus squeezers are very useful, so I do recommend that you grab one if you can. And if you don't like things too tart, you can add a little bit less lemon to it. Again, you got to do this ultimately to your own taste. I'm showing you the basic recipe, and try it my way. Oops, I just lemoned myself. I can say that on TV, right? There we go. But again, these flavors, this is the way it appeals to me. I'm not one of those cooks who thinks that there's only one way to make something. That is so boring, just so boring. I think you should try a recipe and then make it to your taste. I bet you can improve it. I bet you can improve this dish. These are really, really juicy lemons. So it's going to be interesting to see how tart it is. And if it comes out too tart, I can just add a little bit more sugar to it. It doesn't matter to me. Here's our sugar. That's good. And then let's mix in our cornstarch. So a nice tablespoon of cornstarch. And this just thickens the sauce a little bit. I don't want to go overboard on the thickening, but I like it a little bit. Just to have a little bit of a thickened presence. Because this cornstarch will mix in with the juices from everything. The fish, the mushrooms. If you like yours a little bit more viscous, if you like your sauce a little bit more thick, you can certainly add a little bit more cornstarch. What I find with a lot of recipes is that you do have to make adjustments sometimes in the middle to make it taste a little bit better or make it taste like what you're shooting for. And there's no shame in that because the ingredients can always vary. And when they vary, then you can make adjustments that bring everything into alignment. So I'm going to meet you over at the stove. Okay, so I have 2 frying pans preheating over medium heat. In this one, I'm going to put 2 tablespoons of butter and just melt it down. And this is a deep pan. This is really more of a deep skillet. So I'm just melting our butter down. And this is what I'm going to brown the fish in. And now I just take the fish and put it down in here. And the butter will give it a nice browning. And I want the fish really to be cooked pretty well in this pan before I add the mushrooms and other ingredients that we're going to saute in the other pan. So just let this cook and turn it occasionally, like maybe every 5 minutes. Turn it, turn it, turn it. And let's get that all cooked through. And while the fish is sauteing, you can hear it sauteing in the other pan, we'll take our 3 tablespoons of butter, just melt those down in this other pan. And again, this was preheating over medium heat. Now let's just add our mushroom, shallot, and oregano mix. And we're just going to give these a nice saute. When the mushrooms cook down and start to look a little bit clear, then we'll know to add the other ingredients that we've prepared. And then we're going to take all of this and we're going to add it to the fish. So what we'll do is we'll just keep giving this a little bit of a stir as it browns, as it sautés. And I'll show you what it looks like when it's done sautéing. I'm assuming that the sautéing will take about 10 minutes. So I'll be right back. So here's our fish, and I just wanted to show you the first flip. And the cool thing about having a fish like tilapia or a cod is that they hold together really well when you're flipping them. A flounder might fall apart and some of the other fish. Mahi, I'm sure can stand this. But you just want a fish that can take being flipped. And you can see it's getting a nice golden brown on it. It's starting to cook through. And I'll probably have to turn it in the next 5 minutes and then one more time. And then it should be cooked through. And it will be ready for our sauteed vegetables. And here's the vegetables after 5 minutes. You can see the mushrooms are starting to cook down. The shallots are getting clear. And the ingredients are just really sauteing quite nicely. So it might only take me 10 minutes, like I said before, to get this cooked down. And then I'll just set it aside while I wait for the fish to cook all the way through. Wow, I could just sit down and eat a bowl of this. But then I'd have to eat a plate of plain fish. So that ain't gonna happen. So here we go, and I'm gonna see you in a little bit. Okay, so here's our mushrooms after 10 minutes. And honestly, I don't want them to cook down any more than this because they still have to cook some with the fish. So I'm adding our lemon with the garlic and the cornstarch mix to this. It'll start getting nice and saucy. It'll thicken up a little bit. And then I also want to add our half cup of chicken broth. And that will just complete the sauce, the sauciness of this. And it's going to taste so good on that fish. So now what I'm going to do is just let these flavors mingle for another 5 minutes while the fish finishes up. And I'm going to go give the fish another flip. Okay, so here's the moment of truth. What I like to do when I make a dish like this is take a clean spoon and just give the sauce a little taste. Okay, now those lemons were big, so it's a little bit tart for me, so I'm going to add about another teaspoon or so of sugar, just to take out some of that tartness. And that should do it. And again, this is what you do. When you're cooking, sample the sauces, decide if it has that taste that you're looking for, and then adjust it. And I can guarantee you, you'll come out with a dish that you absolutely love. And you can see that it almost formed like a mushroom gravy with all of those different ingredients. And we're ready to pour this over the fish and let it cook in for about another 5 minutes. So I'm going to meet you over at the fish. Okay, so here we are. The fish has a nice brownness to it. And I'm just going to pour this on top. You can see that sizzling quite nicely. I'm going to turn the heat down from medium to a quarter. And all of these ingredients are meeting now. And they're all adding, I'm working around a tripod, so I'm doing the best I can. But they're all getting nice and mixed in. And don't worry, the fish can break a little bit, that's fine. As long as this flavor is getting into it. And what I'd normally do is, just serve this with on top of a rice, just a plain rice, and it'll come out just fine. So just about 5 minutes of letting these ingredients meld together, and then it's ready. I'll be right back. So congratulations, look at what you just did. You just made this delicious tilapia with mushroom, shallots, and lemon sauce, and a whole lot more. Again, you can use the white fish of your choice. Just make sure it's one that kind of holds together as it's cooking. This is absolutely delicious with a side of rice and the vegetable of your choice. It tends to be a little bit on that more earthy side because of the mushrooms, so you might want to find different sides that complement it. But I think you're really going to enjoy this, and I hope you will give it a chance. Now, I am posting on my website a free printable version of the recipe for this dish. On my website, stepbystepchef.com, you're going to find over 100 recipes and free videos. It's all there. Now, if you don't like to print all the recipes, you can buy the book. This book has over 114 of my recipes, and there are free videos that go with every single one of them. And I keep adding more and more recipes to the website. So if you don't want to print, buy the book. If you know someone who can't cook or someone who should try something new, get them this. If that someone is you, get it for yourself, then get it for them. Then we're all winners. So I hope you will take a look at the book. The link is on my website. Again, stepbystepchef.com. I'm Larry Richardson. I am your step-by-step chef, and I want to see you in the next episode.